Top of the morning to you once again. Welcome to the review segment of Good Morning Africa. Time is far gone, and for obvious reasons. The rain is pouring down in torrents, actually, and places, various communities have flooded as a result. Currently, there's an accident on the motorway. A truck carrying goods has overturned, and I have a problem with how we manage these things, and the fact that we do not recognize that it needs some immediate, it's something that needs immediate attention, because we are looking, for instance, you look at the motorway, which is an economic stretch, if I can put it that way. You understand? That is a stretch where goods and services are transported from the harbor city of Tema to Accra and vice versa. Very, very important route for that matter. And there's an accident that has occurred on it. Authorities do not attack this with any form of urgency that as long as the minutes tick by, we are losing so much money for goods and services that are not being transported on that stretch. It appears that we just wait, just some hours later before it would come and then clear it off. I don't see this happening in very, very serious countries where they take things seriously. I don't know why that is. I don't know why that is, because as soon as the thing has happened, authorities are aware. It is raining. Already, rains come with some form of traffic, and this has happened immediately. The roads and highways, whatever they call them, you immediately go there, clear everything so that cars can move. But one of our guests is supposed to be here, and I can tell you categorically, he left home by 6 a.m. He lives in Tema. He's still on the motorway. It's not even, I've spoken to him, he's there, we've done video calls. He's not even midway through the Tema motorway. And that's because of that vehicle that has broken down over there. So why? Why is that? Why is that? Dr. Ramsey, good morning.
Good morning to you, Bless. The sentiments of the citizens of Ghana is very enormous. If we say we want to pour all of them out, I'm not sure we would end this show.
No, we won't.
I'd like to take this opportunity once again to say a good morning to the good people of Ghana. I call them the stoical people, in the sense that they have been very, very patient, right? Bless. Looking at the current economic woes that the people of Ghana are plagued with, right? The current predicaments, the current hardship, unemployment, inflation, all other macroeconomic indicators that does not favor or propagate what we call an enterprise economy. I say money to the people of Ghana for being patient. And I would like to take this opportunity to also stand in solidarity with the National Teachers Association, the Ghana National Teachers Association, NAT, for their tremendous stand on the issue of the SHS bill. And I think that it is important we note that politicization of certain bills, especially bills that tackle social services, like education, is cataclysmic to the sustainability of such policy. And I think the government, looking at the current year we are in, should do as much as possible not to propagate or to propose policies in parliament as a form of political expediency or to score political points, but also look at the real-time situation associated with that bill through a very credible monitoring and evaluation system and a review of the effectiveness of some of the social interventional policies that they've put in place, like the free SHS. Bless, you quite mentioned something that is important, which is to do with road infrastructure.
Yeah.
The Tema motorway was built by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. And as it stands now, it has been the same since Nkrumah built it. So you realize that since the inception of our Fourth Republic in 1992 to date, no government has put it on their books that we want to revamp this road and extend it.
Yeah. Really paid lip service to doing that.
Right? Yeah. Extend it. And it's even in a poor shape. I don't know if you've driven on it recently. If you look at the potholes there, it's
especially
serious.
from the Tema to Accra stretch.
Yes, it's serious. And you know, that stretch of road is also of economic significance because it connects Ghana to also other West African countries. Right? People that come and use our port services from our neighboring countries, namely Burkina, Mali, Niger, and the rest, also use that stretch of road. Right? Even Ivory Coast. Right? And so I will plead with the authority. And it's clear that there is no framework, right, to support our road infrastructure in Ghana. And that is why we are advocating for the strengthening of our local governance system. Because that is the responsibility of the MDAs, right, to improve our road infrastructure. And that is why we have the District Assembly Common Fund. And one of the formulas that is stipulated in the District Assembly Common Fund is to ensure that the District Assembly constructs adequate roads, right? But of course, today we've seen that the MPs have put it onto themselves to promise the people of better roads. But if you look at the Constitution very well, if you look at the mandate of the MDAs, it is their sole responsibility. And I hope that the government will put in measures in place. But unfortunately, they are almost exiting in this coming election. The MPP is definitely going into opposition. And so it is incumbent onto the new government, which hopefully by the grace of God, come January 7th, 2025, Honorable Alan Kodo Martin, by the grace of God and the will of the good people of Ghana, that want to move away from the duopoly of the MPP and the NDC and bring on board a government of national unity that would steer the affairs of governance and leapfrog Ghana from poverty to prosperity, would put in adequate measures in place so that our local governance system will be strengthened. And in other case, they would provide adequate road infrastructure for the good people of Ghana. And that is what we believe in, bless. The Tomamoto Way is currently suffering not only because this government has failed to strengthen our local governance system, but of course, due to the phenomenon of not having a road toll system in place. Because we were making a lot of monies from the road toll system, the toll booths at the motorway, which was bringing in millions of Ghana cedis, and these monies were used to revamp that infrastructure, to manage it properly and fix the potholes. But unfortunately, this government, through illegality, scrapped the road toll system, right? And today, there is no funds to fix the issues of potholes on our roads infrastructure in Ghana. And I realize that this 2024 budget, the promise of 150 million Ghana cedis to fix potholes across the country. Do you remember? We don't see how effective that monies has been utilized till date, because even your street here in Abelempe, you realize that there are a lot of potholes, and I don't know how they've been able to disperse these monies to the local assemblies to enact on that agenda. But bless, all is not lost. We believe that the people of Ghana will do just. The youth of Ghana will do just. That it is time we put all heads together and bring on board credibility and not mediocrity in our governance system. The current political landscape in Ghana has transformed our democracy into what I call a kakistocracy, where the less credible citizens are the ones leading us, right? And how do they get there? They get there by manipulating electoral processes, right? And of course, the monetization of our election. And these two dominant parties are culprits of it. And we have stringent electoral laws in this country. But nobody is enforcing it. Because, of course, independent constitutional bodies that are meant to discharge their duties in an unbiased way and in a just way are having their heads appointed by political parties by virtue of the president, right, who is also the head of a political party. So the EC, the Electoral Commission, which is supposed to be an independent constitutional body, has, under Article 70 of the 1992 Constitution, has a president appointing the commissioner of the EC and other commissioners of the EC.
Right.
And so until we amend all these entrenched flaws in the Constitution, we will be coupled by these kind of predicaments in our democracy. And that is why the only serious political organization that wants to transform this country, especially in our governance system, by amending the 1992 Constitution, is no other but the Movement for Change and our alliance member under the Alliance for Revolutionary Change.
Right. If you're just joining us, this is the newspaper review segment of Good Morning Africa. Let me run you through the topics that we shall be discussing for the morning. I hear lots of you are calling our phone lines. A tad later, from 9:30 or 9:45 to 10 a.m., I'll dedicate that 15 minutes to opening the phone lines. I'll hear from you. You tell us about the rain situation in your area. But for the meantime, tear gas used to break anti-government protest in Nairobi, that is Kenya. NDC backs cement price control legislative instrument. Proposed free SHS bill. Ghana National Association of Teachers accuses government of playing politics with education. And finally, Ghana gets $360 million from the International Monetary Fund. These are the topics we are discussing for the morning. Be a part of the conversation. The very first one, though, tear gas has been used to break up anti-government protests in Kenya following violent clashes over now abandoned tax rises. Footage showed riot police on the streets of the capital, Nairobi, with clouds of tear gas billowing along a main road. Kenyan television stations have also been showing peaceful protests with people marching with palm fronds in Mombasa and Kisumu. The protesters have rejected appeals from President William Ruto for talks even after he abandoned proposed tax rises. Dozens have been killed in clashes since 18th June, most of them shot by officers last week when protesters attempted to storm parliament to block politicians from voting on the increases. Sky News Africa correspondent Yusra El Bagher is at the scene and witnessed police efforts to disperse protesters. She said, "We've seen the police fire tear gas directly at them. We've seen them arrest groups of young men, take them into trucks. We've also seen them beat people. But what they told us is that they'll keep coming back. They'll keep protesting." A member of Kenya's opposition party told Sky News that they were abducted at 1 a.m. overnight, but that they refused to be cowed. Mr. Ruto last week withdrew the controversial finance bill, including new taxes, and said he intends to make budget cuts instead. Protesters said the bill would have put yet more pressure on ordinary citizens and businesses trying to grapple with the high cost of living. The government claimed they wanted to raise funds to pay off debt. And that's how the story ended. But yesterday too, government came out to say that since this tax measure has been abandoned, then it means that we'd have to resort to more borrowing to fund projects, to fund government projects. So that's the story coming from Kenya, Nairobi. It's been many days of protest from the Kenyan people, but why wouldn't they bring this to a halt, especially when the president has said that he's no longer going to assent to the bill to make a law?
Bless. The Kenyan issue is more to even that bill. It's a clear demonstration of discontent of the citizens as far as the social and economic landscape is concerned, and also their political landscape is concerned. Kenya, over the years, has been coupled by successive corrupt regimes, right? And the people of Kenya are tired. And I would like to commend them for their bold, especially the youth, for their bold stance in denying a group of stubborn, or I would say greedy and selfish individuals from passing a legislative instrument that would propound hardship on the innocent people of Kenya. Bless. Government has one of the key tools in ensuring that the lives of citizens are improved, and that is by policy formulation and implementation. If today the Kenyan government is saying that by not able to raise that amount of revenue from taxation, by introducing these new tax bills, they will not be able to execute certain social service infrastructure and all that, or social services, or be able to provide services to the people of Kenya. I think that that is a lazy man approach, and that is no different to what we've seen in Ghana. Government should not be the one to expend a lot of money in terms of infrastructure development. Bless. The Kenyan government has adopted the free market economy. And so you have the private sector, which should be the engine of growth. And so if the Kenyan government realizes that, oh, they have a huge budget deficit, it is incumbent onto them to remodel their development agenda in involving the private sector to come in place rather than going to borrow. So if they create the BOT facility or a PPP facility and create incentives as a form of tax waivers for the private sector and investments to come in place to support their infrastructure development and other social services, I think that it will be able to reduce government borrowing and expenditure, and definitely reduce their budget or fiscal deficit, right? And I think that that is what they should go about. And you see, the police also have exacerbated the issue further by killing a lot of innocent citizens in this demonstration, because these are people that really know what they are going through economically, right? If you look at the unemployment rate in Kenya, it's more than 20%, right? If you look at the current inflation in Kenya, it's also very high. The debt to GDP ratio is almost about 40%, right? We are running about 68% in Ghana, but I know that it is over 100% if you add the debt of the state-owned enterprises. So I think that the government of Kenya is, and we see that across African countries, that they use a layman approach. Oh, let us go tax them, borrow, tax, and pay. But this approach is not sustainable. And that is why Honorable Alan Kodo Tramantin, in his great transformational plan under the economic cluster, has proposed fantastic ideas on how to mitigate the risk of government borrowing, right? And also create a platform where he would incentivize the private sector to come on board so that they can all contribute to national development. And I think that William Ruto should look into that aspect very well, because you cannot continue to borrow for expenditure. Bless. Most of the borrowing is going into expenditure of government, and that is not sustainable. And so I believe that if the Kenyan government looks at this issue carefully, and if you look at the current VAT rate, you realize that they've increased VAT, right? The bill proposes an increment of VAT, an increase in the taxes in the financial service sector and also telecommunication. And we all know, I mean, bless, people here in Ghana struggle to even have 5 CD data or airtime in their mobile phone. So of course, if a poor ordinary citizen, if you tax the telecommunication industry more, then of course, if let's say I can afford for 5 CDs maybe in 2 weeks or every fortnight, then it means that by virtue of taxation, you reduce the ability or my purchasing power of that service to maybe, let's say, 20 or 30%. And so that ability of mine to be able to purchase airtime will decrease. And I think that it is not reasonable for the Kenyan government to continue on this tangent right? And I commend the people of Kenya once more to on their bold step of resisting such bill. That because they know they are the ones living in the country together with these corrupt politicians. They know what they go through when they go to the markets, and they know the day-to-day activity, their day-to-day activity as citizens of Kenya. And so kudos to them. And this is a lesson to also the current government of Ghana, that you see, the Kenyan issue is a clear paradigm of discontent of the political landscape. Here in Ghana, there is also growing apathy and the same sentiments that people are showing. And that is why a movement has appeared, like the movement for change, that the Ghanaian society is gradually becoming tired of the duopoly of the MPP and the NDC, right? And their layman approach to development, because they always believe in borrowing to develop this country and to provide social services. But of course, time and time again, and from the lessons of the developed countries, you realize that it is not sustainable for government to continue borrowing on its books to support their budgetary expenditure. It is not. And you know, when they borrow to support their budgetary deficit or expenditure, they go and borrow again to pay off these loans. And so it's a consistent, what do you call it, layman approach to solving government's fiscal deficit, right? And government's inability to mobilize revenue for development of the country. And that is why the Honorable Alan Kojo-Tramanten has proposed fantastic ideas, and he is saying that he wants to reduce, right, government's borrowing to not more than 10% of GDP. And so if government will borrow, it will borrow not more than 10% of its GDP. Currently, Ghana's debt to GDP ratio, you know, is about what? Over 100%.
Yeah.
So if you have a debt to GDP ratio of over 100% and having over 70% of your revenue to service your debts, then how are you going to get money to sustain certain developments? How are you going to get money to promote the private sector, to promote an enterprise economy? And so that is a key fundamental issue, because we have a lot of cash in the system. Governments can create incentives and they can create a platform to promote the private sector's development and growth in this country, so that they will be the key employers in the economy, right? They will be the key drivers in the economy, so that government can then gain revenue from what? Direct taxes than indirect taxes. And that is why we have a lot of indirect taxes in this country imposed on the ordinary citizens of Ghana. And we need to really look at that, Bless. We really need to look at that.
Right. Thank you very much. Be a part of the conversation too. Our text line very, very active. Make sure you send in your messages. I'll be more than glad to read them as the show progresses. Also, we are live on YouTube and Facebook. YouTube.com/Pan-African Television, Facebook.com/Pan-African Television. But let's move away from happenings in Nairobi, Kenya. Let's come back to Ghana. If you look at the price of cement in 2009, 2008, what you notice is that 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, there is some form of consistency with regards to the yearly price increments. It's just about 2 cedis per year. So you see 2 cedis, some instance even 1 Ghana cedi. For the whole year, cement price goes up with just 1 Ghana cedi. Then I think somewhere 2015 to, I think it was the same thereabout. 2 cedis, 3 cedis thereabout. But from 2017 coming, and especially for the last 3-4 years, it's been terrible. Now a bag of cement sells at 105 Ghana cedis. 105 Ghana cedis for a bag of cement. Something that was sold for, I think, about 16 cedis in 2009. 16 cedis, thereabout. So in the space of 10 years, it has increased several percents, several hundreds of about 500 percentage increment over the last decade. And it's terrible. People are unable to buy, and I think we've focused only on cement, but if you look at building materials generally, iron rods, people are complaining about the price of iron rods. And so if you are a young man, and even the cost of land to start with, if you want a plot of land here in Accra, you are not getting it for cheap, no matter the area. As for the cantonments and the airport hills and co, you don't even want to go there because they are priced in dollars. Some of them, you buy a plot for as much as $1 million. So it's a terrible situation. How do we build? We know that what we do know is that the Minister for Trade and Industry, Kobina Tahir Hammond, he has sent... yes, Alhaji Hammond, he has sent, he wants to lay a regulation in Parliament in order to regulate the price of cement specifically, something that has faced stiff opposition from producers and sellers of cement, I mean to say. But the NDC, we hear, are in support of this initiative by the trade minister. They feel like this is a step in the right direction. What does the movement for change think? Do they also believe that this is a step in the right direction, or they are on the side of manufacturers who believe that this is not something that is going to help them at all?
Bless. You see, this government has failed woefully, right? And Ghana practices what we call the free market economy, right? And in our quest to promote an enterprise economy, we will do so. And one of the characteristics of an enterprise economy is that government has less control over the private sector. And so if today, this current government, looking at how it has failed with the management of the economy, and of course, all macroeconomic indicators would tell you, if you look at the depreciation of the cedi currently, Ghana's cedi, according to Bloomberg, is the 4th worst currency in the world. If these cement manufacturers, right, are pricing their cement, of course, according to, number one, the cost of import levies, right, of their clinker, the raw material that is used for cement. Yeah. Because then they buy it in dollars. And so if you have a depreciating cedi, right, then of course, inflation is also imported. Yeah. The cost of duty is also an add up to the final price build up to the consumer. So all these things have been forgotten by the Trade and Industry Minister. But of course, let us go in and put a cap on the prices of cement manufacturers, and also force them to also declare the prices that they give to the wholesalers and whatsoever. I don't think that this is the characteristics of a free market economy. I am a pro-capitalist person, and I don't think that this step is in the right direction. We know the fundamental issues, of course. Let us tackle this issue. This is a lazy man approach, and of course, it's for political expediency. The people of Ghana should not take them serious. We are in a political year, and of course, all policies that are taken into parliament are for political gains. Do you understand what I'm saying? There are teething issues as far as the prices of cement are concerned. Look at the period it takes for these manufacturers, and I'll be glad if you also interview some of them to clear their raw materials from the ports. It takes a lot of time, and so if it sits at the port for quite some time, there's something they call what do you call this? They use a term. Is it the mod? They have a term for that. There's this term they use. If
it overstays at the port.
Yes. They will pay a certain penalty, and that is what is also causing the price of the cement buildup, right? And so we have a lot of natural resources here for the production, or to feed into their production of the production of cement or the manufacture of cement, it is incumbent onto government, right, to make sure that they create a fixed interest rate for the importation of strategic commodities into this country, like cement and iron rods, because 60% of our cement, our iron rods, 60% of Ghana's imported iron rods comes from Ukraine. And due to the phenomenon of the Ukraine-Russian war, of course, we've seen that there's a blockade, right, due to the war. And so demand has increased. Production, we don't produce a lot of iron rods in Ghana. And so when demand increases and surpasses supply, of course, automatically prices would increase. And also looking at the phenomenon of a decreasing, depreciating cedi, right? Then of course it adds up to the cost build-up to the end consumer. So I think that it is incumbent on the government to find innovative solutions, and that is why Honorable Alan Kodo-Tramantin, under his great transformational plan, has proposed a fantastic idea, bless, that we need to give a fixed interest rate for the importation of strategic commodities. And of course, cement is a strategic commodity, in my opinion. But I'm sure these people would have a contrary view, because currently, if you look at the population and housing census and other state agencies, there's a data that has come up which is very serious, that the housing deficit of Ghana is 1.8 million. Currently, we have a housing deficit of 1.8 million. So then how then do we mitigate this? And we all know that cement is a key raw material in the construction industry, and iron rods.
Yeah.
Right.
Basic, yeah.
And so if government is serious about this and mitigating and also reducing the housing deficit, they would make sure that they reduce taxes on these entities, right? Give them fixed interest rates, as Honorable Alan Kodo-Tramantin has proposed in his great transformational plan. That so I'll explain this to you. So for example, within a period of 6 months, you have a fixed interest rate as an importer. So let's say today you are importing 10 million tons of clinker, which is a raw material of cement, at $1 million, right? And we all know that the dollar to cedi is 16. $1 is 16 cedis. So if you are buying that raw material for $1 million, right? And then the raw material arrives at the port 4 months later, and the rate of a dollar increases to, let's say, 30 Ghana cedis. You will not use that current rate where you're going to clear the goods, at the time you're going to clear the goods, to pay for your import levy. But then the initial rate you use in importing the goods, so that you don't have what we call a pass-on effect of inflation as a result of the depreciation of your cedis or your currency, which is very innovative. And this is a short to medium term intervention, so that we can be able to stabilize our macro economy, right, as far as inflation is concerned, and also the depreciation of the cedi is concerned, whilst vis-a-vis trying to strengthen the private sector to go into more production of cement, because there's a huge demand in Ghana. And I think that if we increase their production capacity, prices would reduce because supply would increase. And this is basic economics. It's all about demand and supply. And so I don't think that the current government's instrument in parliament, it's a reasonable one, to be very honest. It is just to score political points. It is just a mask. Do you understand what I'm saying? It is just something to fool the people of Ghana. But of course, the people of Ghana have people like us, people like Honorable Alan Kodo-Tramantin, and other learned people in society that would unravel all these whimsical promises and bills that they put in parliament, that as if they want to put in certain measures to mitigate the prices of cement. I mean, it's so lame. And the people of Ghana should ignore that. We agree that, yes, the prices of cement are high, but the fundamental issue lies with the depreciation of the currency.
Right.
Do you understand? In 2016, what was the dollar to cedi?
Yeah, it's around
in 2000, the year 2000, what was the dollar to the cedi?
Yeah.
And so, of course, if I am buying a dollar for 16 cedis, and I am importing these raw materials using dollars, of course, then there's a pass-on effect of the cost to the end consumer. And that is why we're saying that the continuous depreciation of our Ghana cedis is what is importing inflation onto our economy. And that is why Honorable Alan Kojo-Tramantin has proposed this brilliant idea, which 5 months to almost 6 months to an election, none of these political parties have even launched their manifesto, bless, which they have been in existence for almost 32 years now. And they've also enjoyed the realms of government, right? They've been in government for equally 16 years, both MPP and NDC, and 6 months to election, bless, with their size and their, I mean, the kind of people they have, they claim they have, they've not been able to bring down a policy framework to mitigate the current economic woes of Ghana. And it is only Honorable Alan Kojo-Tramantin that has launched the most progressive, right, and inclusive social and economic development plan that will tackle Ghana's need from the short term, medium term, and of course, the long term run of our country. And so, bless, this issue is just politics. Again, just like the ambulance case. It's just a political issue, right? It's just to score political points and to ensure that, oh, they are trying to do something phenomenal to reduce the hardship on Ghanaians. But of course, we all know that this is just, what do you call it, a mere political game. Do you understand? And which we've already debunked here. It is not sustainable. Let us tackle the issues from the root. We all know the root cause of all these issues, right? And we are not tackling it from the root cause. Today, as we speak, the central bank is looking at recapitalizing itself because they don't have liquidity. And of course, what it means is that the central bank is broke. Do you understand? Yeah. The central bank is broke. Bless. And it's an issue.
Seriously. But then also, I understand everything you've said about how the exchange rate is adversely affecting the price build of cement. But you do not, I mean, for whatever reason, you do not believe that there should be any form of regulation at all where price is controlled, because at the end of the day, if there's no regulation at all, then the producers or the manufacturers of cement, by their own calculation, by the calculation that favors them, can come out and say, oh, because the dollar is selling at so and so, would also sell a bag of cement at price A or B, looking at the cost of manufacturing. Because it appears that it's been too consistent, if you ask me. If for instance, I understand where you said in 2016 the exchange rate stood at X or Y amount, X or Y Z amount. I mean, if let's say in 2016 or 2017, January 2017, the exchange rate was around 4.2. Let's say at 4.2. That is where the Swell administration left it. It has quadrupled, if you ask me. If cement prices should quadruple by the same way that we are looking at it per the progression of the interest rate, then if in 2017 it was 17 cedis, then 17 times 4 shouldn't be anywhere near even 80 cedis to start with. Now it is selling at a bag of 105 cedis. So is it not also the case that because there is absolutely no control, manufacturers just decide which amount of profit they make on a bag of cement?
But bless. Then if that's the case, then we might as well control every commodity on the market. If that's the case, we might as well control the prices of every commodity on the market. China, which is a communist state, right, hasn't even got such stringent price control mechanisms on some of these commodities. How much more a free market economy and a democracy like Ghana? And so, bless, this, I believe, is just for political purposes. It's an election year, right? This phenomenon, and again, bless, the root cause of this issue is as a result of the mismanagement of this economy, right? You can't blame the manufacturers of cement for increasing the cost of cement bags. It's just like the transport unions, right? They increase the cost of transportation as a result of what?
But at least there's
as a result of what?
At least there's some consultation. It is not a unilateral decision they take.
But of course they have a board.
Yes.
They have a board of cement producers, and they sit down and then they
with government and take so motor, but they take so motor decisions.
But we are running a free market economy. That's the point. With the transport unions, they increase the cost of transportation,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
If today, let's say the liter of fuel, a liter of fuel is increased from currently sold at 14 cedis or 13.5 to 14 cedis per liter. It's increased to 20 or 25 Ghana cedis. Don't you think there will be a pass-on effect onto the consumer?
But you see, Doc, you see, when let's say GPRTU want to increase first, okay, they come up with their own percentage.
Of course.
They come
as a result of the cost build-up.
Yes.
So
they come up with their own percentage, but whatever decision they come up with is not cast in stone. Whatever decision they come up with, they have negotiations with government because everybody uses transportation. Everybody does. So they judge or they come to the negotiation table with government. They judge or and say, look, this has been the price increase, and there's even some form of consistency when it comes to the transport sector. There's some form of agreement that if fuel prices increase by a certain percentage within a particular period of time. Within a particular period of time, if fuel prices increase by some number of percentages, I've forgotten the exact figure. If it increases, then it should directly affect an increase in transportation fares. It is not the same with cement, where manufacturers by their own decide that, oh, okay, this is it. I'm manufacturing a bag of cement at XYZ amount. I want to make this amount of money on it as profit. I understand the bits about the free market economy and everything, but if these regulations are not there, then it means that people can do whatever they want.
But you see, bless, and again, we're failing to understand the fundamental issues here, right? If you look at the cost build-up for cement, those that live north, right, in the northern aspects of Ghana, right, far away from where these manufacturers are and the wholesalers are, especially in Accra, pay more for their cement. Do you agree? And this is as a result of what? Cost of transportation.
Yes.
A key component to that as well. And so, just like the transport unions, right? Of course, the transport unions do not always agree or adhere to government's terms. They bring their own terms based on their needs, and of course.
Yes, but again, there are no negotiations.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
So mostly, sometimes the percentages. You see, yes. Dr. Ramsey. You have a car, you don't use public transport.
Yes.
Let those of us who use the Uber and go see.
Yes, but even Uber, is it regulated by government?
Wait, I'm coming. I'm coming. But then you see, when there is an increase in the price in the cost of fuel, they come up with their own percentage that per this would want to increase transport fares by 30-40%. But then 40% is outrageous. So they come to the negotiation table, they present their case, but governments speak with them. Oh, let's do it this way, let's do it that way, let's do it this way. Then there's an agreement. Sometimes the 30 or 40% changes to like 15%. You understand? So there's that form of negotiation. But this time around, there's with regards to cement, which you said is a very important product.
Of course.
As far as building this country is concerned, literally.
Of course.
Very, very important.
Of course.
Then it means that there's nothing of sort. But when it comes to transportation, which is also pivotal, there's at least when you come up with your own price, that would want to increase by so percent, there are negotiations with government. And so once government judges with you, then you arrive at a concord.
Bless, the best negotiator in the life of any business is the market. I'm telling you, the best negotiator is the market and the market forces that comes with it. So if we take, for example, as I reiterated, the cost of fuel, and I'll always link it to that, because Uber is not regulated by government either. So if you increase, and even, we have some private taxi companies across board. They are not regulated by these unions.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you increase fuel, and we always bargain, unlike other countries where you have a metering system for taxis. We don't have that here.
Yeah.
And so if the prices of fuel increases, definitely the cost of transportation will increase. And they know how they manage their vehicle and all that. They know other costs, the cost build up into maintaining their vehicle and all that.
Yeah.
But government, you might not know that. And so it is incumbent, it has to be incumbent onto these cement manufacturers to determine their price. I know that, of course, there's some form of profiteering aspect. Because you have middlemen.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah. They might sell it at a lesser price, at a wholesale price. You have retailers that will come and take it and also sell it at sometimes exorbitant prices. And that is a disadvantage of the free market economy because there's no price control. But however, the result, and you see, government has realized that there is a very anachronistic approach to our infrastructure development as far as using cement for construction is concerned. In today's world, we have new materials, new ways of construction, right? There are new techniques and methods and also materials that we can use in our building industry. It is incumbent on this government to promote those policies and bring on board the private sector to diversify the raw materials that we use in construction. That would also reduce the cost of construction. Bless. That should be the agenda of this government. But if you come and put pressure on one aspect of it, then again and again, it's a lazy man's approach. There are other materials that can be used in construction, not only cement. And you know that for iron rods, there's another substitute for iron rods. And this for the fiberglass rod, right? Which is, I hear it's more 10 times tensile strength than steel.
I think here bamboo has
exactly. And this is a time that we are promoting the sustainable development goal and eco-friendly material. So government also needs to push at development in this sector and promote policies so that we can diversify the raw materials for construction and not only depend solely on cement. And that is why you realize that there's a huge demand on that side. And of course, if per economic rules, if demand is more than supply, prices would increase.
That's the
but again,
there's a monopoly.
Of course,
there's a monopoly.
I agree. There's a monopoly.
Yes,
there is a monopoly because there are few producers.
And once there's
why are there few producers?
So once there's monopoly, there should be government control.
But you see, it's not a completely monopolistic market. Right, you realize that we have different producers coming on board, and I hear Dangote is even bringing his cement bags to Ghana. I don't know if they've banned it. Right, and so there are different key stakeholders in this regards. So it's a very competitive market. It's very
I don't think it is very competitive, especially when there are just a few. I can name I know we have Gassem.
Yes.
I know we have
Diamond,
Jata. Then on top of my, these are the only three I know.
There's Simaf.
There's Simaf as well. So there's
Dangote. There are other ones.
Dangote is not yet here. Is Dangote here?
No, Dangote sells in the market.
So it's just a few of them, and so it makes decision taking among them very easy.
No,
because it is in high demand. So it makes it very easy for them to take a decision with regards to pricing.
That's why I said that it is incumbent on the government to create policies to diversify the raw materials for construction. Bless. We can't continue using cement for most of our construction. You know, gone are those days when we used to use clay. What's the local name for? Is it Atakwam?
Yeah.
Now people use clay bricks to construct their building, and it has a low thermal emitting properties than cement, right? And so government should also look at how they can promote the development of this sector, right? And also bring about new materials for construction, and support academia in research and development, so that we look at new innovative ways of construction, right? This is what we should be doing. But I mean, you go and you failed in managing the economy, the city is at the free fall, depreciating day by day, and then you go and put pressure on these manufacturers.
Well, let me take time to read a few messages that will proceed to look at the free senior high school policy, which the Ghana National Association of Teachers believes is becoming political, too political for their liking. Samuel Ayebeng has sent us the cement price analysis from 2009 to 2024. 2009 was 8 cedis. 2017 it ended at 16 Ghana cedis. Now increment within the last 8 years was 100%. That is from 2009 to 2017. There was a 100% increment in the price of cement. Now we have from 2017 it was 16 Ghana cedis. Now 2024 it's 105 cedis. So there's an increment of 662% in the price of cement over the last 8 years, from 2017 to 2024. Very, very terrible.
Which is relative to the shipment cost as well of raw materials and the cost of raw material.
Interesting. Thank you, Samuel Ayebeng, for sending us this. We are extremely grateful. Good morning. Please, with all due respect, can I send a birthday wish? So you do it for me, please. No, yes, of course. You can send us. You can tell us whoever you want to wish a happy birthday. Good morning, Bless. Our leaders are pushing we the youth to the wall. When we are tired, we will push back. Eliasu from Tamale send this one. Eliasu, don't push back yet, or you can push back on December 7, where your thumb would be able to determine who will lead this country. Everybody should do politics. If you don't do politics, someone else will do it for you, and the bad decisions will be taken, and you would also feel the brunt. So please, I'm encouraging all of us to do politics. Everybody has to do politics. Piccolo says, where was Alan when the government was borrowing? Piccolo from Akuse sent this one. Thank you, Piccolo, for your message. Musa Abatwa in Asawasi says the country is undoubtedly heading in the wrong direction due to the failures of our current leaders, particularly the chairman of the economic management team, Dr. Baumia. However, I have a strong conviction that only former President Mahama can turn our collapsing economy around. His vision for a 24-hour economy has the potential to revive and transform our nation's economic landscape, steering us back on the right path. Thank you, Musa Abatwa, for your message. Let me do this one. Sami Boachi says this NPP-led Dr. Baumia has already underlined his campaign policies, and the good people of Ghana have accepted and already made up their minds to vote for Dr. Baumia massively to protect the free SHS. And the fact is that no amount of any poll organized by the so-called Global Info Analytics, MPPs remain resolute and focused to break the 8, and it is possible. Thank you, Sami Boachi, for your message. Greetings to Dr. Inusa. Indeed, Ghana is beyond mere rhetoric party manifestos. At this point, we need the Honorable Alan Chamanting with his GCP to transform Ghana. I believe in Alan Chamanting as president, and I hope my fellow Ghanaians, including you, the host, align with the ideologies of Alan Chamanting to help develop Ghana. Don't worry. On December 7, I'm more than determined to cast my vote. When I go and stand behind the ballot paper, my thumb will speak. Right now, I am a referee in this game. For all the parties that appear on the show, I can't come and tell you that I'm going to vote for this person, or I'm going to vote for that person. But what I can what I can make you believe is that my vote is purely going to be based on whatever I hear from all the political, all the candidates. I'm going to do my assessments based on that. I voted for parties that have won elections before. I voted for parties.
You mean you supported the duopoly?
I voted for parties that have won elections before, and
you supported the duopoly.
So let's see. Your vote is your power. Make sure on December 7th you exercise that democratic right of yours. Let me do this one. Good morning, Bless. We are bearing and being patient enough. But these so-called leaders should be mindful when talking, else we act as hooligans. If they continue calling us hooligans, the trade minister should be respectful. BB from Accra. Thank you, BB, for your message. I have so many messages in there. But let's proceed to talk about the free senior high school policy, and that will be our last topic for conversation. The free SHS policy and the issues that have arisen from it. We know this government has waxed lyrical about the free SHS and what they've achieved with it over the years, and now we are hearing a bill is going to will be laid in Parliament in order to make the free SHS permanent, to bind future governments to the free SHS policy. Initially, we heard from the majority leader that the NDC is opposed to it. They have come out clearly to say that they are not. They are open to any policy that would strengthen Ghana's education sector. What I've also heard from Professor Adai is that according to him, the free senior high school policy does not necessarily need a bill. It needs proper implementation. So you can have a bill and then it still wouldn't be properly implemented. Let me hear your thoughts.
Exactly, and that was what I was going to even say in my prelude. But of course, Bless, education is not a privilege but a right. And for any country to attain optimum social and economic development, you need to develop your human capital resource. And by virtue of education, you can be able to achieve that. Yes, anytime we politicize policies, it becomes a detriment onto the ordinary citizens of this country. And we've seen that time and time again, that policies have failed due to politicization of them. And you realize that this free education policy is indeed a good one. Nobody's going to take it away from any learned mind that would say that this policy is not a good one. Of course, a policy that would enhance on the skill set of our citizens, a policy that would increase the erudition of our citizens so that they can be knowledgeable in different skills to be able to be employable. It's something that we need to commend and we need to support. However, Bless, the enactment or the enforcement of that policy is where we have an issue with. That is a bone of contention. Right? The implementation of the free SHS policy is where we have an issue with. And if you look at the current journey of this policy, plagued with politics, and of course, this current year and again, is a year leading us to an election. And so, any business in Parliament, of course, it has an interior motive to try and score political points. This free SHS, just like Professor Adai reiterated, does not need to necessarily be in a bill or be incumbent or be imposed on the other coming government. But of course, it should be properly reviewed, right, so that its implementation will be sustainable. And under the great transformational plan of Honorable Alan Kodo Tramantin, we have realized that there are a lot of challenges with the free SHS bill, right? Issue of the educational infrastructure, the financial sustainability, the curriculum development, the capacity building for teachers and non-teaching staff. And of course, Bless, after SHS, where do these graduates go? How then do we transition them from being graduates of free SHS to tertiary institutions and also prepare them for the world of work. These are legitimate things that we are arguing on. And these are legitimate things that we need to look at. It's not just saying that free SHS, let us all open the doors to various secondary institutions and then come and pass out and graduate, and then that's it. We've done well. Hooray. That's our achievement. No. What is the aftermath of that policy? What are the challenges of that policy currently? Let's look at the infrastructure deficit. Do you remember that this current government was running a double-track system? Why was it so? It's because they failed to do a proper, thorough research and feasibility on the policy before implementation. And that is why my personal opinion is that the free SHS policy should have been a redistributive policy rather than a distributive policy, taking into consideration that we have different households in Ghana. We have different demography as far as the different classes of society is concerned in Ghana, right? There are certain people in our country that can afford the tuition of their wards. There are other people that are highly destituted and they cannot afford for that. So, of course, government should create that platform so that those that can afford should pay, so that government can save these monies for other transformational projects. Bless, I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Very well.
But of course, they rush in implementing it, and we're caught with a lot of issues as far as the implementation of the policy is concerned. And so we are saying that we need to look at how we can make sure that this policy is financially sustainable. Because when you spend money in this policy, you're not going to get it back. But of course, it's going to affect the lives of ordinary young citizens by giving them the skills and the knowledge to be able to be employable, you understand, and also add on to their career pathway as far as education is concerned. And so, bless, we realize that there's also a disconnect between the industry, academia, and also education. That our curriculum is not tailored in a way that would enhance that industrious development that we want to see, right? So we are talking about free SHS, but what are we churning out into the economy, right? How are we going to transition these graduates into other various institutions so that we can transform this country to a self-sufficient economy and a productive one? These are the key things that we need to look at, right? We need to increase the well-being and the welfare of teachers, because bless, we are who we are because of our teachers. But sometimes we forget, bless, we are who we are because of our teachers. But look at the current state of our teachers in this country.
Yeah.
Look at the current state of the teacher training institutions in this country. Look at even the remuneration of our teachers, who have been bombarded with a huge population of SHS students. But if you go and look at their pay, it's mere peanut. What are the incentives that we've put in place to support these teachers? Looking at the current inflation rate in Ghana and looking at the current salaries that they get, you think that, of course, there's a huge disconnect between what they aim and, of course, the current inflation, because when they spend more.
Yeah.
And but they gain less. And so these are key issues that we need to look at. It's interrelated. Do you understand? So infrastructure deficit is one thing that Honorable Alan Kojo-Tramanten proposes to solve. That we will have a review of all the secondary schools in Ghana and then support them in infrastructure development. We would also create some form of loan incentives and reduce interest rates on loans for also the private sector. Because when you're talking about SHS, you have both the public and also the private sector, right? So we can't only talk about the public sector and leave the private sector. We also need to support them in their development, so that if you create some form of loan incentives to support them to build adequate infrastructure, right, to grow, I think that it would also bring in a lot of SHS we have a lot of pool of SHS graduates in this country that would promote to the industrial development of this country. And bless, you see, all industrial nations in this world, especially China, right, realize that level of industrialization by virtue of their educational system. In 1979, under the leadership of Deng Xiaoping, the Chinese economy opened up. He invested a lot in the education of his people, that the Western countries, Western multinational countries, trooped into China, not because, bless, they had cheap skilled labor alone, but the labor was cheap and skilled, right? And that is as a result of their educational system. And so if we want to achieve optimum social and economic development and build a self-reliant and resilient economy, then we need to promote the skills set of our citizens. And that is why Honorable Alan Kodo-Tramantin, under his visionary great transformational plan, is promising that the Volta region will be the new hub for skills and training. So the whole of Ghana, when you want to acquire certain skills and certain training, that center that you go to would be the Volta region. And that would create a new economic boom in that region, as by virtue of what? The educational economy, right? That would even have other citizens of West Africa troop into the Volta region to secure some quality, credible education there. And so this is innovative. And we are not against the free SHS. We want it to stand, we want it to stay, we want it to even go further to the tertiary level, but in a progressive manner. But of course, we need to first and foremost make sure that we have financial sustainability of that project. We need to make sure that we provide all the infrastructure requirements from that. Because, bless, you can't expect a person with tied legs to run. You understand? And so if we don't have the right infrastructure to be able to achieve the optimum benefits of this policy, of course, then it would regress the ability of this credible policy. And that is why we're saying that we need to improve on the infrastructure. We need to also develop the curriculum of our educational system to meet the pressing issues of Ghana, that we want to move from an import-oriented economy to an export-oriented one. And we can be able to achieve that through education, right? If we're able to support these SHS students to get into tertiary education in a progressive manner, in a free way, we can support the academia on parallel with some form of funds to engage in research and development, R&D, so that these can be able to substitute what we import in this country. For example, we sit here and see cameras all over here. All these cameras are not manufactured in Ghana. But of course, by virtue of education, bless, these cameras can be manufactured in Ghana, and we have the capacity. And we are not brain dead people. We can do it. For God's sake, we can do it, bless. But of course, we need the right leadership. We need the right policy framework. And of course, we need the political will and the right mindset and behavioral change to be able to achieve that. And that is why Honorable Alan Kodo-Tramantin has promised that this is the only way Ghana can be able to achieve that adequate social and economic development. We need to change our mindset and our behavior. And you see, bless, today in our society, anybody that gets up and goes to vocational training school is seen as somebody who is not smart, right? you know that? Yeah. That is a mentality. Yeah. And we need to change that.
I had a certain nominated running mates even say that those who have diploma in school, they are not smart.
Exactly. We need to change that mindset. Yeah. Everybody is born with his or her own unique attributes, right? Some people might be good at using their hands for work, as the accounts will say, and Sarah Juma, you understand? And so if we reduce these vocational training school graduates to mere, I would say shallow-minded people or not smart people, I think that is not fair unto them. Yeah. If today the carpenter that you look down upon him does not build a formidable door that can withstand these external pressures from thieves and all that, I'm sure your house would always be looted, right? You don't have the skill to build that door. Somebody has the skill to build that door, and it's helping. If the masons are not there, who will build our homes for us, right? If the plumbers are not there, who is going to build our plumbing system for us to get water and electricians and all that? So we need to respect these artisans, and we need to support them, right, through these currently the TVET system, but we need to improve it. We need to add more infrastructure. We need to also tailor that curriculum to support our long-term vision to reorient this economy from an import-driven one to an export-driven one, so that our city can be stabilized and we can earn more foreign reserves and, of course, create more employment opportunities for the teammates. And I'd like to emphasize on this point. The current orientation of this country exports a lot of our jobs, right? If we are dependent on finished commodities from abroad in this economy, we will not be able to sustain our jobs, and we will not be able to create more jobs in this economy. And of course, every year 300,000 graduates come out from tertiary institutions, and of course the vocational training institutions as well churn out a lot of graduates. How are we going to create employment opportunities for them if we are an import-driven economy? So we need to reorient that. And we Ghanaians also have to be patriotic enough in the way we buy goods and services, that we need to insist on supporting our own. We need to buy made in Ghana goods. And it should be a deliberate attempt. And Honorable Alan Kodu Tramantin is proposing that he will promote the consumption of made in Ghana goods by our citizens, so that collectively we can be able to mobilize revenue locally. Government can also use that to gain direct taxes, right? And then reduce the indirect taxes that is burdening the ordinary Ghanaians and the impoverished Ghanaians, right? So I think that collectively these issues are interrelated, and we can be able to solve issues as far as the social and economic development of this country is concerned. Right.
Our time is up. Thank you so much, Dr. Ramsey. It's been a one-on-one, but yes, it's been very insightful too. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks to our cherished viewers who watch from home. Those of you who sent in messages, I've been unable to read lots of them, of course, because of time. But thank you. It's still raining. You'd want to exercise caution when stepping out. If you don't have anything to do outside, just be indoors. If you go out only when it is absolutely necessary for you to. But in the interim, make sure you do take good care of yourself. I'll catch you same time tomorrow, Thursday edition of the morning show. Hopefully we'll have Comrade Kwesi Pratt Jr. From the Socialist Movement of Ghana. Also, we'll be having Mr. Philip Landing from the Movement for Change, and then Honorable Murtala Mohammed, who represents the good people of Tamale Central in Ghana's parliament. I'll catch you tomorrow. Bye-bye.